KSAT 12. The 6 o'clock news starts right now.
DPS crews have wrapped up their search for Suzanne Simpson at a southeast Bexar County landfill. We have just learned that investigators say they found no evidence at that site after information gathered in the initial stages of their investigation led them to that landfill.
But they say the investigation will continue in the search for the missing woman from Olmos Park. Our John Paul Barajas was at the landfill every day this week and tells us why they aren't giving up hope in finding Suzanne.
In his update, he also told us that they have still found nothing of significance, but our cameras captured investigators zeroing in on what looked like to be a blanket. We don't know yet whether that is in fact evidence in this case, but they spotted it in the bucket of the excavator and then pulled it to take pictures of it, flipped it around and took pictures of it again. We emailed DPS specifically about that blanket, but have not heard back. As for the overall search, this area continues to grow, and we have now seen the excavator move a good distance away from the original location on the side of the hill, and it has started digging there. As for a quick recap, Suzanne was last seen 2 Sundays ago, and there are reports of a physical altercation between her and her husband, Brad Simpson. He is facing charges of assault, family violence, and unlawful restraint, but is not facing any charges in connection to Suzanne's disappearance at this time. We were also told that the Olmos Park Police Chief might be giving an update tonight. If we get that, we will bring that to you. John Paul Barajas, KSAT 12 News.
After expressing so much confidence they would find something at that landfill, has to be a setback for investigators.
Absolutely. They're still searching, looking for so many answers to questions. There was another missing persons case, meanwhile, to tell you about this evening. Deputies say 15-year-old Frankie Salinas has not been seen since September 21st. He was last seen leaving his home in South Bexar County that afternoon. He was wearing Nike Air Force One shoes and possibly jeans. If you see Frankie or know where he is, call the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. That number is 210-335-6000. You can also find this information on KSAT.com.
A new Doggett Freightliner dealership was supposed to go at the backside of this Far East Side neighborhood, Paloma, which not every neighbor was thrilled about.
That's not what I want in my backyard.
Doggett's representative said local councilman Jalen McKee Rodriguez told him the vote on the plan would be pushed to a later meeting. Instead, he tried to cut it off at the knees in a surprise maneuver, attempting to annex the property under different zoning, which would kill the plan for a dealership and Doggett's backup plan to use it as parking.
Had I let the applicant know we were going to be either denying it or doing this, it was going to be withdrawn, and it was going to continue to dangle over my constituency's head.
His fellow council members punted on making a final decision.
These items will be back for consideration for the council on November 7th.
Or not. After the councilman's surprise attack, Doggett's attorney says they'll likely pivot and build the dealership in a less desirable spot across the street where it would already be allowed. And since the original location is still in the county, the city can't stop Doggett from using it as overflow parking.
The city could try to annex the property once Doggett begins to use it as parking, but by then, its use would be grandfathered in. So if you tried to...
They tried to...
run you, you're going to head right down.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
But to the councilman, there wasn't anything to lose by trying.
What we got today is the same result, essentially.
Do you think the residents are going to be happy with what you end up doing with it now, based on today, and based on your pivot?
They're going to be miserable, but they're miserable.
Paloma residents plan to make Doggett miserable too.
Very nice people at 311. We'll just be calling them, writing them continuously, and documenting everything.
And they aren't convinced it will end up as parking. Either way, it's not yet the end of the road. Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
Look outside with live cam. Hope you got a chance to do more than look. Get out and feel those temperatures today. We're enjoying this, Adam.
What a day, what a night, what a morning.
Oh. All of it.
All of it, right? I had the windows open, pressed the ventilation button on the HVAC, pulling that outside air in. No air conditioner in the vehicle day. Had some windows open. Oh, it was good. Felt good. Now, earlier this morning, we started the day at 54 in San Antonio, even some 40s in the hill country. Now, it was the coolest reading we've had in 178 days here in San Antonio. Tomorrow morning, just a few degrees warmer, but still sweatshirt weather for the kids at the bus stop. Bernie 54, 58 on the west side. In and around most of San Antonio, about 58 degrees. Mornings will be on the upswing, mid-60s by this weekend and into next week. We'll talk more about where the rain's going to be coming right up.
Thank you, Adam. New Braunfels police need your help finding a man who's accused in a deadly shooting this month. 20-year-old Richard Rosas is the third suspect wanted in the murder of Chance Heron. The teen was shot and killed inside a car in the parking lot of a New Braunfels restaurant. Two other 20-year-olds have been arrested in that shooting on October 1st, each charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Rosas is wanted for murder. According to New Braunfels police, a reward is being offered for information leading to his arrest. If you know anything that could help police track him down, call Comal County Crime Stoppers. That number is there on your screen, and it's posted on our website at KSAT.com.
A somber day for the family of Jariah Johnson. Last week, the 1-year-old died after he was attacked by pit bulls inside the home of his babysitter. This evening, the baby boy's family welcomed friends and loved ones for a visitation to honor a life cut way too short. Meanwhile, that babysitter that was supposed to be taking care of Jariah, Heather Rodriguez, spent the afternoon in court. She appeared virtually since she's booked at the Bexar County Jail. She's also accused of leaving Johnson and her own 13-year-old daughter alone in that home with her pit bulls. A judge ruled just a few hours ago that all 3 of those dogs will be euthanized. Bexar County's Director of Public Health says she feels like the judge's decision is fair.
It's tragic that anytime an animal has to be euthanized, but I really feel like this is about responsible dog ownership, which is what we always say.
The judge said Rodriguez has 10 days to appeal the euthanization ruling. Rodriguez still has to go through the criminal side of this case. She's facing several charges in connection to the deadly dog attack.
One day after we aired a KSAT Explained story about the dwindling water supply in the Rio Grande Valley, there's action on that front. State Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller issued an executive order allowing farmers and ranchers to tap into the Rio Grande for irrigation. Mexico's seen some heavy rain recently, and Miller believes that water should not go to waste when South Texas farmers are struggling to keep their crops growing. Our KSAT Explained story focused on a water-sharing deal between the U.S. and Mexico that dates back to 1944. But Mexico isn't delivering its share right now. You can scan the QR code that's there in the corner of your screen to check out that full story. Miller says his executive order is especially important because of Mexico's under-delivered water agreement.
Tomorrow, all day, we're going to see the early voting judges. They come in for their last-minute class, pick up their supplies. Monday morning, we're off.
That's Bexar County Elections Administrator Jackie Callanan detailing the final steps that will be taking place before early voting gets started on Monday. She says this year being a presidential election year, her department preparing for a strong turnout. Callanan wants to stress to voters expect long lines at some of the county's 51 early voting sites, so pack your patience.
And as we approach the start of early voting, we want to put some important dates and deadlines on your radar. Early voting will start next Monday and run through Friday, November 1st. Early voting hours will vary depending on the day, but remember, you can cast your ballot at any polling place during that early voting time period, and that does include on the weekends. Now, not everyone is eligible to vote by mail, but if you are, you must mail your application into the Bexar County Elections Office by October 25th. Then once you get your ballot, it must be received by the Elections Office by Election Day, November 5th. To see if you are eligible, download the application, scan the QR code right there on your screen to access all of that information. Collecting and selling sports cards is a popular business, but one local collector is in the red after he claims the owner of a memorabilia company owes him more than $200,000. It's all in a lawsuit that's been filed against Legends Only Sports Cards and Collectibles, and now an investigation has been opened by the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. Erica Hernandez spoke with a customer who said that he hopes others will avoid his same mistakes.
Collecting sports cards has been a passion for Jorge Olazabal and his family. After the San Antonio Spurs acquired Victor Wembanyama, Olazabal was on the hunt for valuable cards.
My children and I saved up for some time to now buy a couple of boxes, and we were able to hit one of his major cards.
That card, a rare black gold prism rookie card. He then contacted Rashad Aldridge from Legends Only Sports Cards and Collectibles located off Loop 1604 near Highway 151. Olazabal asked for help to find more Wemby memorabilia. The two struck a consignment deal. Aldridge would take other sports cards Olazabal owned as well as 4 Rolex watches, all totaled more than $200,000. That agreement was to try to sell those items so Olazabal could use the profits to purchase more valuable collectibles.
He agreed to sign my legal document that it was, the chain of command of custody, that he was going to be taking my inventory, which were probably about 600 cards in 2 different cases, locked and tracked.
But from March until June, Olazabal never saw any money and his items were never returned.
And I think that's when I started to realize that he either A, didn't have the cards, or B, had spent the money on growing his personal business.
The lawsuit was filed in July, and Olazabal's attorney confirmed to KSAT that neither Aldridge nor an attorney representing him had responded to the suit. We reached out to Aldridge on several occasions by phone. He told us today he was not available for an interview, but that he wanted the situation settled. Olazabal has filed a report with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, and at this point, wants to warn others.
I just want to create awareness in the community and make sure that if there's other victims out there, you're not alone. This was a significant investment on our part and risk that we took. But unfortunately, I'm hoping that it doesn't happen to others.
Now, after speaking with Rashad Aldridge yesterday, he did reach out to Jorge's attorney to try to come up with an agreement. We spoke to that attorney who says that nothing has been agreed upon yet. As far as that BCSO investigation, it is still active and open. Erica Hernandez, KSAT 12 News.
Now, we did receive a statement from the owner, Rashad Aldridge, a little less than an hour ago about the ongoing legal matter here. He told KSAT in part, quote, "I fully understand the severity of the situation, and I want to assure our community that I'm working closely with my legal counsel to address the issues raised in the lawsuit. Our primary goal is to resolve this matter in a fair and amicable manner while preserving the trust and reputation we have built over the years," end quote.
We'll continue to follow that case. All right, let's go to TransGuide right now. Outside, this is I-37 at Hackberry, and you can see traffic slowed down there, especially, I don't even think that's the exit. I think that's maybe I-37 as it merges up ahead is what the slowdown is, but you can see a slowdown. Again, this is I-37 at Hackberry.
It will be a night to remember and honor all lives impacted by blood cancers. A story of survival after the break and how you can play a part in raising awareness.
Hundreds of migrants go unidentified after dying while attempting to cross the U.S.-Mexico border each year. How a university program is working to identify these individuals coming up on the Night Beat.
All right, check your refrigerator and freezers. Ready-to-eat meat company Bruce Pack expanding its recall they originally sent out last week. It now includes more products and production dates after the USDA found listeria in some rounds of its testing. That product includes salads, wraps, pasta bowls, burritos, enchiladas, and many more ready-made frozen meals. Those affected products sold nationwide, and thankfully, there's been no reports of illness so far from these products.
It could have been a death sentence. Audrey Raumsbacher was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia 8 years ago. That's a rare bone marrow and blood cancer. She started chemo as soon as she could, ended up staying in the hospital for 30 days. 8 months later, she was in remission. But Audrey knows that others are not as lucky.
I don't know why, God chose me to live and took them away.
Audrey will be recognized as an honored hero this Saturday at Light the Night. It's at Hemisphere downtown. We invite everyone to join us as hundreds of lanterns illuminate the sky to remember and honor people impacted by cancer.
Boy, the weather this morning certainly was something to be happy to wake up to.
Yeah, it was so nice, and I want it to just hold on. keep lasting there, Adam.
It was also good napping weather if you want to take a morning nap, after the getting the kids up and out.
Right.
Hey, you've got little ones. You don't know.
What is this morning nap you
Yeah,
speak
every
of?
so often, this is just too nice. Let's just, take a little nap once the kids are out of the house.
Tell me about your morning nap.
Yeah. What are your ages of the boys again?
7 and 4.
Yeah, you're in the thick of it.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
There is no morning napping.
Now, there is in my house sometimes, and today I had to do one of those. It was great. Felt so good with the window open, breeze coming in. It's like, how can you not? Okay, that's second to a rainy morning, right? All right, let's take a look at our afternoon high temperature trend going forward. We'll still be near 80 again tomorrow, low 80s this weekend, and then mid 80s as we get into next week. So we will be warming back up a little bit and even above average in just a few days. Now today, 78 in San Antonio. Yesterday was 77. The last time we had 2 back-to-back days below 80 was back in April. Even Del Rio 77 made it up to 82 in Cotulla. Right now we're at 76 with that sun getting lower. And by the way, full moon rise this evening at 7:11 p.m. Look off to the east. If the clouds aren't in the way, you'll see the big moon even coming in between some of the cracks in the clouds. You'll see it. Anyway, 76 right now, dew point of 48. That dry air is in place. And that's what helped us cool off so efficiently and have those temperatures in the 40s in the hill country this morning and 50s elsewhere. Now we're in the 70s. Temperatures gradually falling off. Will be 58 tomorrow morning. 74 at noon, right near 80 for the high temperature with a mixture of sun and clouds throughout the day and an east-southeasterly wind at 10 to 15, kind of like today. 81 Gonzales tomorrow, near 80 along the Rio Grande. You get to Carrizo Springs, Cotulla, Tilden, Los Angeles down there. We'll be in the mid-80s, about 85. I want to talk about rain chances because we do have some clouds in the sky right now, and some of those could actually throw a few raindrops to the ground. Don't get excited. We're talking a trace to maybe a few tenths of it or a few hundredths of an inch. This evening or later tonight and tomorrow, that would be closer to the Rio Grande. Again, not a big deal. Don't get excited for it. And then we have that 10% chance into the weekend as well around San Antonio. And that's mainly for the morning hours around San Antonio because we'll have thicker low clouds in the morning hours, and that would then bring us the chance of a few quick sprinkles, but they're not going to get in the way of the morning bike ride or the morning run, walking the dog, whatever. It's not that kind of situation. The real rain and real precip is with this big trough that's digging into the northwestern U.S. Now, this trough is going to drop southward. It's going to dig into the Four Corners region. Not an ideal placement for us to get good rain from it. We need this bad boy right there in northern Mexico. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen here. So you see the precip swath with this is going to be New Mexico, Colorado, parts of North Texas and West Texas as well. And they could use the moisture. And by the way, higher elevation snow. But you see, they could use it too. At least it's going somewhere where it's needed, right, and wanted. Around here, this is the most recent drought monitor updated today, and it has expanded across our area where we were abnormally dry, now a moderate drought. And in San Antonio, the extreme drought has moved in. 42 consecutive days without measurable rain at San Antonio International Airport. Yeah, that's not a good stat, and unfortunately, we don't see any good hopes of rain anytime soon.
All right, thank you, Adam.
All right, he's a guy who has won a world championship before. He knows what it takes. So how excited is he about the season that lies ahead, Larry?
Well, you could tell that he's pretty excited. And I don't think Harrison Barnes really shows a lot of excitement, but you can just hear it in his voice that he is ready for his 13th season in the NBA. And I mean, why not? You're going to play with Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama, plus San Antonio FC. You know what? They still have a shot at the postseason. Nick Mantis has more coming up.
I'm excited. I mean, I'm ready for the season. I'm excited. It's been a summer transition, but it's also been, body-wise, I feel good, and I was ready to go.
Spurs forward Harrison Barnes is ready to tip off his 13th season in the NBA in Big Board Sports. The Silver and Black will close out the preseason tonight at the Houston Rockets in the Southwest Division matchup. Keldon Johnson, Chris Paul, Jeremy Sohan, Devin Vassell, and Victor Wembanyama will not suit up for the Spurs. So we'll see them 1 week from tonight when the Spurs tip off the regular season at the Dallas Mavericks. Spurs forward Harrison Barnes has been there and done that when it comes to the preseason, but still, it's an exciting time for Barnes knowing the regular season is right around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely, I think you're grateful. I think you're grateful for the experience, right? A lot of young guys, they're trying to find their way in the preseason and, not necessarily living and dying on every shot or every game, but it's like, that you're getting ready for, a long marathon. So I think it's just preparing for that, but also just realizing, what's the importance of these games? What are you trying to get out of it? What do you want to take to the regular season? And for me, coming to a new team with new players, it's the familiarity piece.
Barnes and Chris Paul are going to teach the younger Spurs a lot during the marathon season. So the Spurs and Rockets will hoop tonight at 7 at the Toyota Center. We'll have highlights for you on the Night Beat. San Antonio FC is facing a tough task in its final 2 games of the regular season. Right now, they're 1 spot away from making the USL Championship playoffs. After winning 2 matches this past week, they need to beat Louisville City FC and Detroit City FC for any chance to make the postseason. Our Nick Mantis was at practice this morning, and Nick, it didn't look like SAFC had any shot of making the playoffs halfway through the season.
Well, to be completely honest with you, Larry, we did not see this coming because between the months of June, July, and August, SAFC only won 3 matches. So the amount of points that they would need in order to make the playoffs just did not seem likely. Now they have 2 home matches that they need to win out in order to make the playoffs. And head coach Alan Marcina told us that that's not going to be easy.
Yeah, this is hands down the best team in the league, Louisville. Again, that's my subjective opinion. I can back it up with a lot of objective data. That being said, we have to be the aggressors. We can't go out feeling that we're inferior.
We respect them, but we want to beat them, and that's our job. And I'll take our locker room for sure going up against them, so we're ready.
It gets that little extra motivation where, everybody's expecting Louisville to win. Everybody's expecting Louisville to be, on top of the world. It's like, okay. Let's see at the end of the game.
Another thing that was interesting in hearing from the team was how much they want to win these last 2 home games, not just to prolong their season, but also for their home fans who have stuck by them through the ups and downs of this season. From Toyota Field, Nick Mantis, back to you, Larry.
Thank you, Nick. And how about this? Antonian Prep quarterback Rogan Parson was named the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Private School Quarterback of the Week after leading the Apaches past TMI 52-28. He had 267 total yards and 3 touchdowns.
Congratulations to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Larry.
Well, the doctor is in studio. Doc Talk is coming up next.
It's that time we ask you to send us questions that you'd like to ask a doctor, and we invite a doctor on to answer them. And joining us today for Doc Talk, Dr. Dina Tom from University Health. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, always nice to see you here. Let's get to our first viewer question. This person writes, my 3-year-old daughter continues to get bronchitis and has to constantly take antibiotics. Should I be concerned, and should she see a pulmonary specialist? I'm worried for her little lungs.
Yes, I can understand your concern. So bronchitis, I was explaining it to my daughter earlier, is an infection of the large tubes that go to your lungs. So down from your trachea, and then they separate into your lungs. So most of the time, bronchitis is caused by a virus and really doesn't need antibiotics. So I would say if there is a concern that your child needs antibiotics, especially multiple bouts of antibiotics, then probably you need to ask your pediatrician for a referral to a pediatric pulmonologist because we would get concerned there might be some chronic bacteria in there, and they should go maybe looking around to see why it's not healing itself.
Yeah. When it comes to kids and antibiotics, you've got things like ear infections as well, which can reoccur, right? Is there a time when it's taking them too often? Should there be a certain time period in between doses of antibiotics?
That is a great question, and one we hear a lot from Parents of children under about 1 or 2, because the average number of viruses or colds a child in their first year of life gets is somewhere between 10 and 13, which means that your child is sick every single month.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And you're like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with my child? I think they have an immune deficiency or something. So, we really want to avoid antibiotics when we can, because bacteria are smart and they get resistant to antibiotics. But antibiotics can also cause side effects like diarrhea, stomach upset, and so we really try to avoid them. In children, almost always it's a virus until proven otherwise. But if your child has been sick with a cold, or they're having pain in their ear with fever that lasts longer than about 5 days, then you really should talk to your pediatrician or family doctor about maybe getting antibiotics, because bacteria might have seeded into that little viral infection and now cause an infection. So we really want to try to avoid it when we can.
All right, next question is very general, so maybe we can get into some causes. But why is my child struggling to go to sleep?
Aren't we all? I
know.
We all. So children, I'm assuming that the question maybe not be babies, because baby sleeping is a little bit, of a hairy topic. Yeah. But if it's a child having difficulty sleeping, we usually, as a pediatrician, we approach it 2 different ways. Do they have problems falling asleep or staying asleep? And really, if it's a falling asleep problem, we go back to the foundations of sleep, which is sleep hygiene. Have the same exact bedtime every single night. Prepare for that bedtime with a routine. So we turn off the screens, we maybe take a bath or a shower, we read a book, we turn the lights down and have a lamp, and we sing a song, right? And it's our child's body's way of really preparing itself for sleep. That melatonin goes up and our child falls asleep. Now, not all children can, even with all of that goodness, can fall asleep easily. So sometimes, as pediatricians, we say, what if we try a little bit of melatonin at night? The other thing that if a child's having trouble staying asleep is really making sure that they don't have caffeine in their system, they didn't eat right before bed, and that when they wake up at night, they're not being rewarded for waking up. So they go and they climb into bed, or you play with them again, right? Because you really want them to understand early on as babies that this is sleep time. So we're just having very low stimulation, we go back to bed. If you've tried all of those things and still having a lot of trouble, then definitely talk to your pediatrician about next steps.
Yeah, okay. Our next question up here. There has been a recent spike of gastroenteritis. What do I do if my child gets a stomach bug, and when should I worry?
This is really going around San Antonio. We're seeing it at University Hospital, Women and Children's, at my children's school. My daughter was out sick with the stomach bug, right? Yeah. So this is on the rise right now. So no fear. It's likely, there's no reason to think it's not a virus, but a virus can still cause damage. So we think of vomiting and diarrhea as the stomach flu or the stomach bug. And usually, as a pediatrician, when a child comes to me and they're vomiting, I know this might sound silly, but once they start having diarrhea, I'm like, oh, good.
That's a good
Which
thing.
is horrible.
Yeah.
Because, of course, I don't want the child to be dehydrated, but it tells me, okay, this is the natural course of a stomach virus.
It's working through
It works itself through. So they start with vomiting, and then eventually the vomiting stops, and they start to poop. And when that happens, they can really catch up on their fluids. But I will say that if your child is vomiting, the most important thing is to make sure they're hydrated. So what we say is get some Pedialyte or oral rehydration fluid. Even the generic stuff in the grocery store is totally safe. And you really want to keep them hydrated with little bits every time. Every time they throw up, you have them drink. Even if it feels like they're throwing up everything you're giving them, if they want to drink, if they're willing to, is really trying to stay on top of it. When to worry is when your child is not peeing, right? So we want them to pee at least once every 6 hours. And if they are not, they're out of it, they're not waking up, they don't, that you seem like they're just really tired, they're, very, we call it somnolent, but sleepy and groggy, they might start to have dry, cracked lips. That's a time when you should definitely take them in.
Yeah.
And the littler they are, the more dangerous it can be, the faster they can get dehydrated. So we want to make sure we're watching that close.
Yeah. You notice she said diarrhea, and Adam Caskey started laughing.
I believe he cackled. Actually.
Don't sing the song out. All right.
Oh, no.
How often does my child need to see a dentist? It's a good question.
Yes, it's a dentist question.
Yeah.
So the American Academy of Pediatric Dentists suggests, and the AAP, or American Academy of Pediatricians, that children get seen every 6 months or twice a year since their first baby tooth erupts. So, and honestly, pediatric dentists are thrilled when they see a baby with no teeth before they get teeth, because it's a time for them to really meet your baby, talk about ways to start their dental hygiene early. I will say, especially for little children and toddlers, if they get used to going to the dentist before they're toddlers and they're scared of the dentist ends up being a place they like to go.
Yeah.
Right? And
it can be fun.
It can be fun. Yeah. But if you take a toddler to a stranger for the first time who's going to go inside their mouth, that's no fun. So we really want them to go twice a year since their first baby tooth erupts, and to really get that protective sealants that they do, to talk about how to brush their teeth and eat healthy things, making sure that they don't get cavities early on.
Okay, good to know. Dr. Dina Tom, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, we appreciate your time.
All right, this may lead to other questions that you have. We've got you covered in that case. Doc Talk, just scan the QR code, send us your questions, and we will take them to the doctor that comes in to visit us, whether it's Dr. Tom or someone else. Just scan this QR code and send us your question. Doc Talk, every Thursday there's not Know My Neighborhood, which happens once a month. We have Doc Talk at 6:30.
We'll be right back.
Early voting windows continue to open across the country. Today, North Carolina joined in on the process.
This as the two candidates continue campaigning in very different ways. Vice President Kamala Harris has boots on the ground in Wisconsin, while former President Donald Trump doubles down on anti-immigration rhetoric in a podcast interview.
ABC's Perry Russum in Washington with an update on the race for the White House.
With 19 days to go until Election Day, early in-person voting starting today in the crucial swing state of North Carolina.
I voted.
Really determined to get in and vote as soon as we can.
Vice President Kamala Harris's running mate Governor Tim Walz campaigning there with former President Bill Clinton. Harris in Wisconsin crisscrossing the battleground state. 3 campaign events in Wisconsin today. Harris pausing for a moment to speak for the administration after Israel killed the mastermind of the October 7th massacre.
This moment gives us an opportunity to finally end the war in Gaza. And it must end such that Israel is secure, the hostages are released, the suffering in Gaza ends.
Former President Trump on the Patrick Bet-David podcast, repeating his harsh anti-immigrant rhetoric.
Our country has been poisoned, okay? Poisoned.
Trump claiming if he wins in November, he will end the war between Russia and Ukraine before he takes the oath of office.
I will settle Russia, Ukraine while I'm president-elect.
While you're president-elect?
While I'm president-elect.
Wow.
Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
And 19 days until we get to say to Kamala Harris and her broken leadership, you are fired.
Tonight, Trump heads to a Catholic Charities dinner in New York City. Typically, both major party candidates go, where they roast each other. Harris is not attending, but will address the event by video. Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
All right, while we are loving these temperatures right now, we don't want to get greedy, but I know we need some rain, Adam.
It's okay. We can get greedy, Myra. We do need the rain. You look at the drought monitor, 55% of Texas considered in drought right now. And check this out. You see that? This was taken last night, the nearly full moon. I love it. Yeah, I love it.
That's really cool.
Yeah, Peggy does. Cool. She's been doing a good job with the moonrise and her decorations. I'm sure she'll have another one tonight. It is full tonight. We're going to talk more about that, how you can see it in just a bit.
All right, I'm very happy with the temperatures. I hope we're going to continue this trend. Are we done with high 90s?
Oh, high 90s. Yeah, I thought you were going to say something else. I was like, well, I can't exactly give you what you want. But yeah, sorry. Well, look at the time. We got to talk about this moon, don't we?
Exactly.
Oh, sorry. I think we're done with the 90s, yes. And we'll get back into the mid-80s by next week. And that's above average, but not as bad as where we have been. And I'll show you the month of October so far. I want to get right to our KSAT Connect again. Great shot yesterday evening, that full moon, the vantage point right in the fingertips. Almost full moon last night, almost full moon. It turned full earlier this morning, 6:26 a.m. Here's the key, though. It's going to be rising at 7:11 p.m. Look to the east-northeast. And I know we have some clouds out there, but still, sometimes those clouds get breaks in between them, and you'll see that really big moon off on the horizon. You can Google this to the end of the internet, okay? People often ask, why does the moon look so big when it's low on the horizon? We have no real explanation for it, no proof of why it looks that way. Go for it. Get on the Google machine. You may find some theories, but no proof of exactly what causes that to our eye. Isn't that fascinating? I mean, science, we still have so far to go. Anyway, it's the hunter's moon, named after hunting and preparing for winter, obviously, this time of year. And you see the clouds, there are some breaks in it. So if you see that big moon, you can say, kids, we still have no scientific explanation of exactly why that happens. Blows my mind. 78 was our high today. The average is 82. We had back-to-back days below 80 degrees, but you look at the rest of October, or previously in October, 90s and well into the 90s. Even some record-setting high temperatures and record-tying just on the 15th earlier this week. And then yesterday we dropped to 77, today 78. We're going to be back in this orange category as we get through this weekend and into next week. Drought monitor, 55% of Texas in drought. It's gotten worse along the Red River, even in Oklahoma and in West Texas as well, getting drier. And we continue to dry out. This severe and extreme drought just continues to expand. And the areas that previously weren't even abnormally dry along the coastal plain now are. It's been 42 days straight without measurable rain at San Antonio International. That includes today. We are nearly 2 inches below average for the month. Year to date, we're more than 5 inches below average. A few sprinkles, that's it tonight and into tomorrow morning along the Rio Grande. Locally, a few sprinkles this weekend, especially in the morning hours when the clouds are going to be a little bit thicker. So that's just a 10% chance right there. Unfortunately, no good, real rain chances in the forecast. You know what that is? You know what those are?
Yes.
What are they?
Bulbs.
Oh gosh, they're ornament bulbs, Myra. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Oh, I see now.
I was saying the other day, I feel like Costco in August, in September. And in October, I have Christmas gear out, and I'm working on Christmas, and I have my first batch of thermometer ornaments, the actual thermometer parts, ready to go, calibrated. Look at those beautiful calibration points, already preparing for the big Christmas thermometer ornament giveaway. And what I love about that shot is it just shows, notice how every bulb is a little different. The homemade thermometers are like snowflakes. They can be similar, but no two are identical. And that's one thing I love about making thermometers.
So instead of silver bells, it's thermometer bulbs.
Thermometer bulbs. Can you put that in the song for me?
It's Christmas time in the city.
In San Antonio.
Yeah.
So I brought my Christmas tree out with we keep it behind the set, and then we just pull it out around Thanksgiving. But it's there. So as Senate Jim says, it's never too early. Anyway, Mark Dahl, you're the winner of a full-size homemade thermometer. Anyway, you can go to ksat.com/thermometer to enter the drawing and the giveaway for the ornaments. We always know.
I thought, that's a tree. I thought that's how you clean the canyon.
Don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes.
You know how when it gets kind of cooler outside, dogs get the zoomies?
Yeah.
You plus cooler weather plus thermometer Thursday.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what we're witnessing.
It's Zoomalicious.
Yeah.
On steroids or something, like extra zoomy.
Something.
Something.
Yeah, you're right. It's something. We'll be right back.
A rare copy of the United States Constitution is up for auction. It's a printed original from 1787, one of the first copies of the U.S. Constitution that Congress sent to the 13 colonies for ratification.
So how rare is it? Well, this is the 9th known to still exist. It was found in a filing cabinet by an appraiser in North Carolina. Thankfully, he knew what it was.
That is all our time. Thanks so much for watching the news at 6.
See you tonight on the Night Beat at 10.